Yeah,
because we're
absolutely.
recording. Luke, awesome. We've known each other for a little bit.
Several years, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah,
and always had a good time chatting with you. So I'm excited about what we're doing here.
absolutely.
And I'm not gonna, you've grown so much. It's been fun to follow your story. And so maybe why don't you explain kind of what you're doing, what's big today, and what's exciting?
Absolutely. So, Luke Pepper Creative, LPC. It's kind of known as both of those things. Luke Pepper Creative is at its heart and soul a creative marketing agency. And we've all heard of marketing companies. You think SEO, you think website, web development, you have video production companies. And we brand ourselves as a creative agency because our main focus is actually visuals, being video, be it through social media, be it through web design and web development. But visuals is the core of what we do. And when you break that down, it's all about building your brand and building brand recognition between your customers. And for what we do, it's really about building relationships within an industry. So outside of kind of this world of LPC that we live in, we brand ourselves as the leader in blue collar content. So the core of our business, all we eat, sleep, and breathe is the blue collar world. And I know going back many years ago, you guys here at Fine Home were actually one of our first customers.
Yeah. And we still have your video on our website, and a couple of the reviews actually that you brought in the client, and you were really good at that because it's to get somebody to get on camera and be comfortable, and then also get a good for them to talk about a review. I mean, I think some of our two best video reviews from clients, I think you guys did a really good job on.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. And I know it was always fun working with you guys because I know that there's been times where we've been on some long-term projects, and what's awesome is that for us, we can see the vision from start to finish,
Right.
Which is I know something that you really want to capture and showcase to your potential customers, and capturing those testimonials and those reviews are so important for you guys.
Yeah, and I think people are starting to realize, but if you're not on social media, if you're not creating content, if you don't have this stuff, you honestly don't exist. And it's moved so quickly, and you have, we're not the yellow pages anymore, making hopefully that your business name starts with an A, so you're on the top.
Absolutely.
It's a much bigger game today that every business has to play.
Absolutely. And I think in our industry especially, so we're about between 70 and 80% of our business is actually video production. And with that being said, we solely work with really small businesses, small to medium-sized businesses, I should say. And it's so true, right? Marketing is so different than it was. And this whole video production world, social media, TikTok, Instagram is new in the small business world. But what's funny is one of the guys who works for us actually came from a Fortune 500 company, and their video production studio was started in the 90s. So it's so funny that trickle down has really taken from, the Fortune 500 companies, your big businesses, all the way down to now your small one-man bands and one-man operations. And the small operations are now saying, we can't not have video. It's what builds our brand. It's what tells the story of what we do.
People want to know, what is this company doing? Can I like them? Can I know them? Can I trust them? And you really can only get that, and that they're looking for, and the guys that are doing that on social media are the ones that they're buying from. Especially behind the scenes are always great.
Absolutely. And it's funny because again, when we started working together, Fine Home was really at the forefront of, hey, let's be on top of this whole video thing. Let's be on top of this whole content game. And what's so funny is that you guys, like, I hate to say it, 5-6 years ago, you're kind of laughed out of the room. Like, what do you mean you're investing in this?
Right.
And now the conversation has shifted, and it's so funny because those guys who were laughing at you 5, 6, 7 years ago are now the ones picking up the phone and going, "Oh my gosh, now we're chasing you."
Right. Yeah. It's fun. Small business is really fun, and if you can get in a keep the new technology like AI is coming out, how can we put that into our business? I would imagine, is it helping you with video editing and all that stuff, or have you started implementing it? Or
Yeah, so great question. Artificial intelligence in our world, in the creative world, provides a really good template. And so whether it's an opportunity to help develop scripts, help develop podcast questions, helping with some online content, maybe some articles, what we've found is that there's no true replacement for that creative,
Right.
but it's that balancing act of, okay, you know what, maybe you're going through that creative dry spell. And you're like, I can't get through this. I'm mulling over this TV ad we're working on. The script's not really falling into place. Let me go hop over to a chat GPT and let me throw it in there and see what it can come up with. And it's funny because, again, as AI has really become this buzzword, the technology with AI still is not there yet completely. It doesn't fully replace a true video editor or a content writer, but it helps aid in the process, right? It's a tool.
Yeah. It helps. It helps us be more efficient. You know, we can get more productive, more production done. So you're doing blue collar. Obviously, I know. You know, I've been following you. You're doing awesome content. But so, what is that? What does that mean? What is your avatar of a customer that you're looking for, and how do you go about it?
Absolutely. So great question. So as we say, the blue collar world tends to be very broad. But I'll give a little backstory into the reason why we jumped into this niche. And I had a customer many years ago. So my background is actually I was a teacher. I was a teacher full time for 4 years. And along the way, I had this little video business, this little marketing business that was always growing. And we worked a lot with landscapers and some other contractors locally here in the northwest corner of Connecticut. And I realized that the market that we served on that side, the guys who are out in the field every single day, are an underserved market in the marketing world. They have really great stories. They're the backbone of our local economy, right? You can't, food, water, shelter, they're the guys who are really providing it. And I said, you know what? That's who we need to tell their stories, right? So with that, as time went on, we began to really dive into this niche even further. So right now, our customer base, very strong here in New England. We work with between 50 and 60 different companies throughout the course of a year. A lot of landscape providers, some contractors. We work with equipment manufacturers. We work with basically anybody who works with their hands. We want to work with them to tell their story and to build their brand.
And I love it because it's a it's a good niche to be in because the creative's probably a little easier than if you were a niche being a dentist or an accountant. There's only so much content that you can kind of create in the insurance industry.
Absolutely.
So so how do you when you're bringing somebody in, how do you explain your value, to because honestly we're in the same space and we deal with a lot of the old timers are like, the Twitter machine. Why do I need to be on that? What is your kind of, how do you go about that when people have that,
Absolutely. So when it comes to kind of bridging that gap, one of our core values at LPC is relationship. And so our first priority is not to go out and sell. And maybe it's a detriment to our business, but our top and bottom line are secondary to our ability to build relationships with people in the field and actually listen to what they need. And I think that that's one thing that separates us, right? A lot of marketing companies, a lot of whether a website, and I'm not meaning to bash the industry, but they're sales focused and short game, kind of trajectory. For us, our sales cycle is 12 to 18 months to add on a new customer.
Right.
Which again, in the short term, we're like, oh man, we've got salaries to pay, we've got overhead. But for us, it's more important about building those relationships, answering questions, and really getting to know our customers as much as they want to work with us, as much as we want to work with them. What we find really effective and where we see our value, especially with some of the larger companies we work with, the second generation comes to us.
Yeah.
The first generation built the business. They're beginning to retire. They're beginning to age out. And the second generation is going, okay, we're short on our workforce. We need a way to build better relationships with our own customers. We need to support the business that we have. That's when they pick up the phone and call us. And they say, Luke, these are the challenges we're facing. We're facing issues with recruitment, retention. People don't know what we do. And it's so funny because we get the father, the mother, the brother, the cousin in this, in the conference room. And the older generation is the tougher sell,
Mm.
but the younger generation knows they need it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a lot of bridging that gap and realizing that, no, we're here to really support you. And yes, we're a video production company. Yes, we're a for-profit business at the end of the day. But for us, it's really saying, let's meet you where you're at. If your father is aging out of the business, we'll work with you to help bridge that conversation.
Yeah.
And that's really important to us.
I guess you just gave a really good point about, there's a sales aspect of producing videos and all of that stuff, but the other side is when you kind of get your company out online, you also have the ability to attract your employees and workers. So the more, yeah, you can say, well, I don't need any more sales, but you definitely need employees, and you definitely need people that want to be a part of your team. And if they don't know that you exist, they're not going to come seek you out. I mean, we have a careers form on our on our uh, on our website, and the universe aligned, but our new project coordinator filled out the careers form because she had found us on social media and then went to the website and said, "Hey, I want to work for that company." So I think it's a good point. I just kind of thought about that, you know. Um,
And I think it's, as we talk about return on investment, right? As small business owners or as business owners in general, it's all about, oh my gosh, how long is it going to take me for me to see that return?
yeah.
And sometimes, and it's a horrible pitch for my business, but sometimes developing a brand, developing video content to support that brand, and developing an online presence, it's hard to quantify.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to say, okay, if we go out and we shoot a company video, we're going to see a 10x return on the investment. There's a good chance you may not. But what you do is you strengthen your brand. You provide a place for customers and potential employees to see what you're all about.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, it helps bridge that gap on the relationship building side with them in the future. We have one customer, we actually met at Con Expo last year, and good size, they work in the dirt world. And we went to their shops and come to find out they were a very large company, and we had no idea. Zero website, zero online presence. They contacted us and said, how can you help us?
Mm-hmm.
And their whole driving factor behind all this was recruitment. We need to get CDL drivers. We need to get guys in equipment. We need to get guys in the field. How can you help us support that? And it's so funny because they bid a lot of their work.
Mm-hmm.
So they're saying, well, we don't need this for sales. But in that same regard, if you don't have an online presence right now, you don't exist.
Right. Yeah, that is a good, that's a good example of that. And I think the other one, when we're looking at the marketing side, and with how, search is going to change, and especially now with AI, you're able to put up lots and lots of blogs to bring your authority up, but for your website. However, that's starting to go away because everybody can do it, right? So it's like, it's not, when the first people had the first websites, you were a winner. Now, if you don't have a website, you don't even exist. It's same thing with blogs. But now with AI being able to crawl videos and see what the video content is, the people that have the video content are now going to be the authority when somebody says, I need X, Y, and Z, or I want to work at X, Y, and Z place. I think video is going to be the next, creation of getting you to be, get you in front of who's looking for you.
Absolutely. And a big part of, and I think anybody who's a small business owner, anybody who has a website, a simple contact form on their webpage, we get inundated with, oh, I'm an SEO expert. Oh, I'm a marketing expert. Oh,
Yeah.
we found so many issues with the website. And exactly like you said, with the introduction of artificial intelligence, it's not super difficult to get a local website ranking.
Right.
And at the end of the day, is that a long-term strategy for your business? Are those leads that you're getting through SEO, are those leads that you're getting through a click through your website, the strongest leads and truly the customers you want to work with?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the video content comes in, because it's again, sells your professional brand,
Yep.
sells what you do that much better.
And you become the authority in the expert in the space. I mean, I know we'll have people come and say, hey, I've been following you online, and it's not, there's no sales process at that point. They're just like, hey, we know what kind of work you do. we want this done. When can you start?
Absolutely.
And I think that's been the goal. So we used to buy so much from Angie List, and all of these lead sites, and it just throwing money out the window. And then, but it's scary because you have to double down and say, okay, I'm going to go and start doing this, like the podcast, all of this stuff, and say, it's going to take a minute to see results, but the results are 100. I mean, we were having a couple hundred leads a month, and now we're down to 50. But those 50 leads are like unbelievable.
Right.
The people are, like I said, they're, when can you start?
Exactly.
So,
And I always like to use the term, the best way to grow fast is to grow slow. And it's so funny because when we go into a meeting with a customer, right, we're very much from the same mindset that you're better off having 25, 30 leads a month, that you're going to have a close rate of 60%, 70%, 80%, and they're quality leads. They know what you're about. They know the services you provide. Then really just getting someone to click through and maybe call you and really fill you out, be a tire kicker. And it's so funny because there's times where we go into these meetings and customers come to us and they go, well, we want to grow fast. And I say to them, to be fully transparent with you, then we're not the best company for you.
Right. And that's huge. I think it's amazing how, how quickly you grow as a person when you're in business, and how you gain wisdom. That was what you just said, has a lot of wisdom to saying no to the client. And that took me years. No, we're not the right fit for you. You're not the right customer. If your expectations, I can't sell you this right now because I know what the outcome is. So this is a whole other podcast, but what growing the business. I mean, you just said I saw something. You're hiring 3 more people. What is it being like a business owner in all of this too? Because it's and I don't even know if we should go on this topic because the topic's so enormous. I mean, we could have an entire 100 episodes of just the podcast just on small business. But what is your takeaways?
Yeah, so it's so funny because actually the reason why I'm sitting here is because I reached out to you and I really respect you as a business owner and what you've built, and we've known each other for so long. And my fiance and my fiance runs the business with me. And she came in, she has a social work background. She ran an operation up in upstate New York, and she came and worked in the business. And what's really unique is that as we learn to grow and we learn to scale, we looked at our calendar and we looked at our scope of work for the next 6 to 8 weeks. And we looked at each other and we said, we've got more work to quote out. We've got more leads coming in. And again, grow slow to grow fast. We're at that point where we were like, if we do not add to our team, we're going to be up a creek. And we can't successfully service the customers that we have. So first person that I go to in my mind is I got to give Dave Perrotti a call. And we got to talk a little bit about scaling, about growing, about finding the right people. And I got myself another very good friend of mine who's a bit of a business coach for me. And I reached out to him and we talked about scaling. And the biggest thing as we grow is playing that balancing act of, okay, we have the work. Right now, February, March gets a little slow in terms of contracts coming in. We're quoting out a lot. We know we need to go get the help. We know we need to hire. Cash flow is a little bit lower at this point, but we need to do it. And scaling and growing a business, right? That's always the dream is, okay, I hope this is going to grow bigger than me.
Right.
Last year about this time, we pulled in our first full-time director of photography. He was a wonderful addition to the team. He left us last fall. Kate and I sat down and we said, well, going into the winter, let's scale it back to myself, her, and we had a social media coordinator. The social media coordinator went to pursue her master's degree in social work. We actually hired her sister in and said, well, take over what your sister was doing. And in late January, we said, oh my gosh, we're burning ourselves out. Let's really focus on a time of growth. And so we just started looking for the best talent that we could find. But the big thing for us is that as we're hiring this round, we're looking at people who can join our team that fit the feeling and the emotion and really buy into the passion of what we do, which is the hardest thing to quantify in an interview. So it's the joys of skill is important. Your hard skills are important, but also that thing, the way you blend with your team or with a team is something you can't really quantify. But how do you use your interview process to try to get there as fast as possible?
And then, it's when you don't find when you don't realize you hired when you realize you hired the wrong person, quickly get them out. I learned that the hard way, where you want it to make it work. You're forcing it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the biggest takeaway that I've seen in the last couple of years is that growth, is not like this. It's like this. So very interesting, how you said, we hired a first and then they left, and those are all like the building blocks. You're still going in the upward trajectory, because you're learning through each one. And I honestly, what I found in the business is like the business is just an extension of who you are as a person.
Right.
And if you want to level up, you have to start leveling yourself up.
Right.
And when you become a better leader, you end up attracting the better person.
Absolutely.
And they just show up miraculously.
Right.
I mean, a couple of guys in the room I have now, it's just like, I'm like, if they didn't show up, I would have closed the doors, because it was just chaos. Because I was chaos.
Right.
I hadn't figured it out yet. So I would, you're hiring, and you're hoping people are going to do the right thing, and it's a direct reflection, and then you kind of have that dip, you reconsolidate, you readjust your values, you figure out, hey, what am I doing to create this nonsense in my business? Because you're the last person, like it's you, it is you who's the the reason for it all. And then you kind of reconvene and go after it. But I don't think there's any I would say the most written about, YouTubed about, is how to grow a business, but everybody will tell you something different. I think you have to have like an internal, try to, connect to your intuition and go lead by your heart,
Absolutely.
you're gonna be kicked on the ground.
Oh yeah.
And you just got to keep getting up and love the experience, because that's what it is. I mean, it's, owning your own business is a master class of life. It's just,
and it forces you to grow up,
yeah,
and make decisions. It's so funny, I don't remember where I heard this. It might have been on a podcast, might have been on a talk show, but it was talking about how as you grow in business, every step you make up, the decision you make holds that much more weight. Right? You think when you go into something full-time, you quit your full-time job, and then you're like, oh, I got to pay my own mortgage here.
Right.
And then the next step is, oh, now the people who work under me now I'm responsible for their rents, their life, and allowing them to build their dream. And the next step is, oh my gosh, we really screwed up. Let me make sure I get the right lawyer in here to solve this problem, right?
Exactly.
And it's bigger and bigger steps, but that's the beauty of being the business owner.
Yeah. It's fun. I mean, you the more zeros you add to everything, it makes makes it a little bit more exciting. But I think it's also interesting, how Sarah and I are working together. You guys are working together too. How is that dynamic? Because when shit's going down, we're both freaking out. So
it's so funny, because I have another very close couple that we're very good friends with, and they're in their 60s now. They're pushing their. Anthony will get very mad if I say that he's in his 60s. He's 59, but and they're kind of on the other side, and they're both in business together, and it's those same conversations. And it's like Kate and I both have very strong personalities. When she first came to work in the business, it was basically like, I looked at her and I said, I need extra help. If you don't want to come work, I need to go find somebody else. Right. And she said, okay, well, let's go through it, and let's see what happens. And then it's like, we're going through that challenge of, okay, we eat, sleep, and breathe this. And we're both so passionate about the growth. And it's been a lot of reflection in who we are as people. We're getting married this June.
Yeah.
And
congratulations. It's awesome.
Thank you. And it's very funny, because we're, doing the marriage counseling, and who's a friend of ours, and he goes, oh, well, you guys work in business together, so you guys have a really good view of who each other are. Um, but it's a challenge, and there are days where we wake up and we roll out of bed and we look at each other and go, today's going to be difficult. And so we need to go to our own separate offices and make our decisions. And then there's days where I wouldn't trade it for the world. There's nothing like running a business with your significant other and sharing in your successes. And what's really cool is Kate is to the point where she's closing deals. She's working with customers. She's building those relationships. It's so funny. There's a certain set of customers, they don't call me, they call Kate. And that, for me, being her significant other, I mean, it makes me almost well up, because I'm like, I'm so proud of you, and we get to share in the celebration together, and that's amazing.
I love that, and you're absolutely right. You develop a good relationship when you have to communicate and say, hey, listen, it's a tough day today. Let's, I need to go in my corner, you go in your corner.
Yep.
But absolutely, it's the rewards of when you go away, or you go a couple years, and it's so interesting, because I opened up an old Excel sheet a few months ago, and it just had some numbers of where we wanted to be in so many years, and I'm like, wow, do you remember 10 years ago we were thinking we wanted to be here? Well, we made it. Right. And it's such a cool thing to be able to sit down with your significant other and just be like, remember when we were grinding it out? And remember when we, because Sarah's more recently on, starting to come on, because we're developing this new product for Fine Home Contracting, and along with a set-aside business. So it's now we're both full in, and we're both committed, which is nervous. Oh, right. Because if the company, the company needs to be successful for both of us now. Before, she was kind of more doing her real estate 100% on the side. So, we could support each other, but being all in is a whole other car,
It's tough, and it's so funny, because again, in the small business world, there's a lot of husband and wife teams. And again, as we talk about growing the business, everybody has a different way of doing it. Everybody has a different way of juggling having a significant other in the business. And one thing that we kind of had to work through was, because of the customers we support, the woman-owned business, especially 20 years ago, was not a true woman-owned business. It was, okay, my wife's name is on the paperwork.
Yeah.
Today, that's totally shifted. And what's amazing is that I look at our trajectory as a business, and the respect Kate gets from our customers, and her kind of buy into the company. It's like, that's amazing. And being able to share in that, being able to face the challenges together, being able to say, no, Kate truly shows up. She's in the office 100% of the time, and we're not a woman-owned business, but Kate's the one who runs the day-to-day. In our ability to run the business, I'll be fully transparent, she's the one who kind of has to write the check and spend the money, because I'm not as risk averse as she is.
Right.
She has more, I'm a sales guy. She is very much okay, I'm going to drive the team. I'm going to lead the team. And it's awesome to be able to go into the office every single day and watch her do that, do what she loves, and lead people and guide people. And I talk on the phone. That's what I'm good at.
No, that's awesome, and it's great to have a part. It's interesting how partners kind of come together, with their strengths and weaknesses, because it's it balances each other out. So, what is the new hire? What's the 3 new hires? What are they going to be doing?
Yeah, so great question. So we've added 3 new people on. This week, Monday, we had our new hire orientation. We have 2 video producers. Again, 80% of our work is video, and I'm getting into the point where I'm attending a lot of trade shows. I'm doing a lot of talks. I mean, I'm really traveling the country and talking, and selling and doing that sort of thing. So we have 2 producers, and then we have 1 individual who's coming in, and he's really learning the website side, the graphic design side. And that's where we kind of saw him fitting. Originally, we were thinking, okay, how are we going to go about this this time of hiring and growth? And we threw out a content creator position, which is a very broad position. And then we said, okay, let's cast the wide net. Let's pull these people in, and let's see what they can do. What are their raw skills? Where's their personality? How do we gel with them? And this is kind of where we landed. We landed at 2 video producers, and a graphic design web development individual. being that video production so important to us, we knew we had to, our work, our plan is to build out that team completely, and then scale from there.
So the video production is your, somebody's hiring you, and what is the typical videos that you are going to produce?
Great question. So a typical video for us, we have a variety of different packages. One of our most popular packages is we actually come in, is the job site overview, which we've actually done a couple of over the years. And so because we service the blue collar world, the job site overview allows us to come in, we spend time with you and your crew, we capture the job that's on hand. Outside of that, in that package, we also provide photos for your website, for your social media. We also provide reels for Instagram, TikTok, and that sort of thing, because that kind of vertical content is so important right now. We also do a lot of customer testimonials. We do a lot of company overview videos, and we do a lot of recruitment. We also do recruitment campaigns, which has been very popular lately, as we're dealing with the workforce shortage and labor shortage. So.
Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things in building and remodeling and in the trades in general. Just nobody, it's aging out. Everybody went to college. No one thought the trades was cool, and the trades are awesome. I mean, if I was going to do it again, be an electrician or a plumber, you're making more money than all of us. But yeah, it is interesting. I think recruiting, and I think the service you're also doing is bringing these. And I've seen some of your videos, you've got a lot of, excavation. I don't think a lot of people don't even know what these jobs exist. Like what goes on, with all of the trades. I think people, so you're bringing a good lens to the industry to allow people to say, hey, actually, I would like to do that. And may hopefully get, I know I've said this a few times, but, this old house has really pushed to try to get people into the trades. Mike Rowe has done a lot because, everybody thinks that the computer is taking care of the computer at this point.
Right.
We need some people that are actually going to, go do stuff outside,
Exactly. And I think, you were a tech graduate, correct?
Yeah, I went to Oliver Wolcott Tech in Torrington.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was an electrical at Tech. And I don't know did you know that?
No, I didn't.
So
I think you were probably, I'm a bit older.
You're older than me,
yeah.
But that's what I think, like these trade schools is a huge push. And I know when I made the jump to leave my teaching position, I was at just a regular high school, and it was so interesting because the general consensus was, let's look down upon the trade school.
Yeah.
Let's look down upon the trades.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's that?
No, it totally was. It's
exactly.
Like you can't go to high school, go to a trade school. If you can't go to college, go get in the trades.
Exactly. And the trade schools are hugely important.
Yeah.
Like you said, my brother was in plumbing. I was in electrical. He's a teacher down in Bristol.
Yeah.
And I, jumped ship and did this. But if I could go back, I'd be, oh man, I would love to be an electrician.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good, it's got some, a good company, good benefits. You can actually make a decent living compared to if you came out with a degree in whatever. It's tough.
Exactly.
It's tough. So what's your focus, coming into 2024? We're in the beginning, you're growing your team. It sounds like you're getting into bigger companies, which is super exciting.
Yeah. So our growth plan for the coming year, we have really, through our involvement with a lot of different associations and organizations, we do a lot of networking in that regard. So we've done a ton of work with a lot of large-scale landscape operations, some large-scale dirt companies, your land, your dirt work operations. We've done work with materials companies and that sort of thing. Our next venture is really actually pushing into a lot of the general contracting world, a lot of more of the materials companies, more of the heavy civil type of companies, and we'd really like to also push into more of the trades. Blue collar really opens up itself to a lot of opportunity, and what we're seeing from our end, and we can't do this alone. There's a couple other video producers, there's a couple of the marketing companies that really have also taken this niche, and we all work together because we're saying the issue is not selling our services to the companies. The issue is really telling the story of the blue collar world.
Right.
It's getting people into the field. It's getting people into this trades. It's building an understanding around what your electricians do, what your plumbers do, and that sort of thing. So that's really the future of our company, is to push more into trades, into the blue collar world as a whole. Anybody who works with their hands and that sort of thing. That's our kind of structured growth plan, is to grow in our market, as well as get more involved in associations. Associations have been a huge component of what we do.
Yeah, have you done anything with the HBRA?
I don't believe so. I believe we have a customer actually who right now we are working on a project.
Oh, gotcha. So
yeah.
Before you leave, go chat with Tony, because
Yeah.
he sits on the he chairs the board for
Okay.
the HBRA, and the HBRA is a home building association for Connecticut, and they're very active. They're big. They do a lot of. They help with the they lobby to make sure that we get and they're very they do a great job. So that he can help maybe get you in front of a lot of other general contractors, and even that, chatting with them are lots of good resources there.
Right.
Because that's what it's interesting you're getting into the networking, because that's really, relationships are huge, in this business, and finding, everybody has different doors open when you hit the right people. It's interesting, but what do you think? Anything else that you wanna tell everybody? I mean, that was a quick 45 minutes.
Yeah, we've already gone 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, on top of, and I meant to throw this in too, on top of providing kind of our marketing services and our video services, another thing that we've really started to grow is our marketing trainings. And the reason being is that in that service line, what we're realizing is that there's a lot of noise in the marketing world. We talked a little bit about those SEO emails we get, 400 of them a day.
That's crazy.
And a lot of guys, are saying, okay, I've started a business, we do $800,000 a year, $1 million a year, $2 million a year. And they go, I've never really understood marketing. I've never really understood what I should be doing, what I shouldn't be doing. And it's really funny because I have customers that maybe we don't work with them, but they come to us and go, hey, Luke, this is kind of this other company approached us. What are your thoughts? Is it too good to be true? So we found doing consulting in that regard. We're also going to be launching an in-house training. So we're going to bring, I believe we're going to have 10 seats available, and I wish I had the date of it. But we're going to be doing 10 seats. We're going to hold it down at our offices in Thomaston, and we're basically going to do a crash course in marketing. It's again something that has a lot of mystique over it. It's kind of, okay, well, what's behind the veil of marketing? And we're trying to break that down and say, okay, if you build out a plan and you're consistent, you'll see growth. And even if you may not have it perfected, if you're consistent, you put your eggs in the right basket, you will see growth.
I think that's very smart to get into, because what's going to happen is, as we grow, any company that gets over to a certain spot needs a marketing department that is a content creation department.
Exactly.
And when people realize that if you're there to be the trainer of that person,
Absolutely,
it's really smart to get into. I think it's crazy how things change. Like, who would have thought you're going to need somebody a video,
right,
to in the company. So that's smart of you. And is there any other things?
I think the only thing I say is, if you want to come down, stop by our office. Anybody who's listening, we are an open door policy. If you want to come and just shoot the breeze and pop down, if you want to shoot me an email or shoot Kate an email, reach out to us. Head over to our website, and we also are in the process of launching our podcast, First Cut. So First Cut is a podcast about the small business world. And some of the challenges Kate and I face in growing our business, as well as bringing in some of our customers. And what's really cool is some of our customers have become kind of social media influencers, which is funny because you're like, really, a guy running a bulldozer is a social media influencer? Yeah. But they are. And so we're going to be bringing a lot of them on and just, again, telling the stories and trying to educate on and build a community around, okay, we're all small business owners. We're all in this together. You may buy something from us. You may not. I don't care. I just want to know the ins and outs of your business and get to know you.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Luke, it was great chatting with you. Yeah, there's so much. It's interesting when we do this stuff. Liam, do you want to go